When I graduated social work school in 2017, I had about $65,000 in student loan debt. And my first job out of school paid maybe $20 an hour as a contractor. Fast forward just a few years later, I was making six figures in tech. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how that happened, how I handled my loans, how I networked my way into jobs, what I learned about negotiation, and how I eventually pivoted into tech. Let's start with my loans because it's a large part of the story. One smart move I made while I was still in school, I paid the interest of my loans every month. Freshman year, it might have been $50. By the time I was finishing my MSW, it was closer to maybe 150 or probably 175. Nothing wild, but enough to matter. Here's why. When you don't pay your interest, it gets added to the principal balance of your loan. Let's say you borrowed $50. If the interest is $5 and you don't pay it, now your balance is $55. And the next month, they charge interest on the $55, not $50. That keeps compounding until one day you're like, wait, I borrowed 40K. How do I owe 70K? It's wild. By paying interest every month, I basically walked out of school owing close to what I borrowed, not thousands more. My first job, I actually still have the email. I asked for $25 an hour. It was a contract job, around maybe 45 to 50K a year. I even said I'm open to negotiation. It was my first job out of school. And I got it through networking and following up, literally emailing multiple times. I got a contract role with the NYC Department of Education with this initiative called Menteach. I didn't have any benefits to start, but it was good. And I got it by talking with a friend who supported me in connecting with the person who would eventually connect me with my boss. So networking, following up will get you a job, even in 2025. But $20 to $25 an hour wasn't going to knock out my $65,000 worth of loan debt, right? So I picked up a second job tutoring at a nonprofit. It was a 180 moment because not only was I working in the New York City Department of Education, which is part of the system that educated me, but then I was working for a nonprofit that also was a big part in my journey to college. So between these two jobs, I started aggressively paying off my debt. My method was kind of like a snowball avalanche hybrid, which means I knocked out the loan with the highest interest rate first and then rolled that money into the next one. I was exhausted all the time. I was living at home. I was throwing every extra dollar I made to that debt. But month after month, I saw the number dropping, so it was worth it. After about a year, I was still at the DOE and two full-time jobs open. One stalled out because of budgets, but the other one came through. And I literally went from working in room 303 to room 309. And again, networking and follow-up made this happen. And here's a quick PSA. People love to say move in silence. I say tell a few key people what you're doing and where you want to go because they might be able to unlock your opportunity for you. Before I accepted this full-time offer, I was happy that I was getting benefits, but I wanted to see if I could get more because I had just passed my license for my Master's of Social Work. I reached out to my professor from my master's program. I took a negotiation class. Yes, social work school has negotiation, macro or system settings, focus on the clinical track. But if you take macro electives, even if you're clinical, you're able to take classes like social innovation or negotiation. I went ready to negotiate and pretty much the feedback was, this is a local government. You are under a union, right? We're a government, we don't negotiate. So the salary was about 65K and that was that. It wasn't what I hoped for, but I was still grateful for the stability, the benefits, and more aggressively pay off my loans. So I took it. And by November 2019, I finished paying off the debt. Once I paid off my loans, my next goal was to save for a house. I was building up my 6-month emergency fund. I was already contributing to my 403B once I got that full-time job. I was contributing about 10%. So I knew I was saving some money. Then the pandemic hit. And suddenly I was like, every single day I was at home, I was working from my childhood bedroom with a big red bunk bed behind me. Not ideal. So I pivoted. Instead of a house, I moved into an apartment. That gave me space and freedom, but it slowed down my savings. So I realized if I wanted to make a bigger financial goal or dent, buy a house, I needed more income. I had gone from one-on-one work as a social worker to group work. I did a lot of mentorships with my first contract job at Menteach. And then I moved to citywide workforce development when I did my full-time job with CTE. Each step, my skill and impact was growing. So I thought, what's the next level? And the answer to me was tech. Everyone is touched by tech. I didn't get any new certifications. I mapped out my skills. Workforce development, education systems, outreach, partnerships, training. Those are exactly what education tech companies need. That's how I landed at my first tech job at an ed tech startup, helping people without 4-year degrees get career sustaining jobs. My first offer was for $80,000 base. I negotiated and raised my stocks. If you're familiar with Beyonce, she says paid me in equity. So that's what stocks are. So even though I couldn't move my base, I did negotiate more equity. That was life-changing. From 2017 to 2021, I went from $20 an hour with no benefits, $65,000 worth of debt, to $80K base salary, no debts, 6 months of savings, and also investing in my 403B or my 401k. So after that, kind of went 6 figures and beyond. That 80K, like after that, between promotions and whatnot. So pretty life-changing. So that's my journey from being $65,000 in debts to paying it off in under 3 years, to pivoting from social work to tech and breaking 6 figures. If you're on your own debt journey or career pivot journey, drop a comment and let me know what's been hardest for you. And if you want to go deeper, whether it's how I paid off the loans, how I networked into the jobs, or how I pitched my social work skills to tech, let me know. In every single role I've ever had, people have valued my social work skills. Every hiring manager has told me, your social work background is why we want you, right? So social work is such a versatile, powerful skill set, and I want us to lean into that. And that is why I call myself a tech social worker. Thanks for watching.